What's something you're curious about recently?
Um, I think that I'm always curious, to at least a certain extent, but um, to go in a very, very maybe not so interesting path is that I've always been interested in cooking. I like food and I like
Okay.
exploring different cuisines. So um, things that has been quite that I've been curious about lately is probably Korea, actually, my where I came from.
Really?
Because my entire life, I grew up as a Norwegian. I am probably like a stereotype Norwegian when it comes to my mindset. You
Yeah.
know, I yeah, I had a very Norwegian upbringing, and even though my parents were quite open about the adoption and all of
Mhm.
that, I didn't take that much interest in it because I'm not really sure exactly why, but some of it might be a protection thing or that you want to shape your identity to not be as different,
Yeah.
that you want to fit in and uh, with your Norwegian life, things like that. So maybe that's why I distanced myself a little bit from it when I was younger. But recently, I think both with Korean culture and cuisine and stuff has been interesting to me. I've been curious to learn more about it.
So are
So
you
I think
cooking then? Are you trying the stuff out?
well, yeah. I mean,
Or just
I'm
eating it? Come somewhere and eating it.
no, I do cook, and I love to cook. And so been trying to find like the right ingredients and all of that, but I have a very good friend who knows Korean, who also speaks the language and knows the culture and have been living in Seoul for also for quite some time. So I've gotten a lot of insight from that,
Mhm.
and it kind of piqued my interest more on it as well. And
Okay.
also, I feel like Korea has had a certain how should I say presence lately. Uh,
In your life?
in terms of no, I think in like in the world in general with
Mm.
well, I think like K-pop and K-dramas have been again like one of the things that America was has been really good at, you know, pushing
Yeah.
pop culture and showing, if not maybe entirely accurate, at least part of the culture.
Yeah.
And I think Korea has gone uh, in that direction. It seems, you know, like they promote a
Yeah.
lot of Korean culture and heritage through movies, television, and music.
Yeah. It's something I'm curious about is soul. It seems like yeah, kind of like you're saying, like it's just seems like I stumbled across, I sometimes go on these Wikipedia rabbit holes.
Oh
So I'll
yeah.
set aside like I used to do this. I should get back to doing it. Set aside like 40 minutes and then I just go on Wikipedia and then just see what I find for like 40 minutes.
Oh,
And one time I came across
oh,
this
that's
global
interesting.
cities index and Seoul is like very high up on the global cities index. And so the global city index is basically like this it's like this list of cities and this kind of ranking based on like 30 different factors like economics, art, culture,
Right, right.
diversity, all these things. And Seoul is like right up there. It's really interesting.
It's having quite like a revolutionary change, I think, in Korea the last uh, probably 15 years or maybe even more. It's been quite a modernization, it seems,
Yeah.
uh, from traditional uh, from traditional ways. But then again, I'm not an expert on Korea, so I shouldn't be assuming things. But it seems to be, at least in Seoul and the greater cities, that
Yeah.
there's the change for modernization, more liberal rights, things like that.
Have you been to Seoul?
I have not. I'm not, but I want to go at one point. But I think I want to go for a longer period. I'm going to plan it
Okay.
a little bit better.
Okay. Yeah, my camera sometimes goes out like that. We're back.
I see. Yeah.
Where have you all traveled to? Are there places besides Korea you'd like to travel to?
I think I always want to travel.
Yeah.
It's such a privilege to be able to travel. I try to be a little bit more environmental conscious about travel,
Okay.
um but so when I worked as a photographer, I lived in Berlin, and I also lived in Vienna in Austria, and
Wow.
it was quite a lot easier to get around with buses and trains when you're
Okay.
in Central Europe. But when you live in Norway, most of the times you have to fly, take a plane. But I think one of the most interesting places that I've been to was probably in Cuba. Uh,
Really?
we went there when I studied photography. So it was part of like a school trip.
Okay.
And so we interacted with a Cuban school and their students. And so we had like a photography project with them. And we kind of got to learn a lot about this. And then this was before it was kind of like open uh,
Mm.
for US again.
Hmm.
So because this was back in 2010, I think.
Okay.
And so that was quite interesting to learn more about it because I didn't really know that much about Cuba. And so that was fascinating on multiple levels, just to learn about it and also see the culture, not
Okay.
just like the political, um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like the everyday
the
life of people.
yeah, exactly, and how different that was compared to your perception again of because of the government and what you are fed by with news and all of that. So it was quite different. So that was interesting. Um, I also found it super interesting to travel to Tokyo in Japan.
Oh, what's Tokyo
Uh,
like?
Tokyo is mad. I mean, in a good way.
Yeah.
It's first of all, it's massive. Like I know in America has like tons of big cities. You live in a huge one yourself. Tokyo is
Tokyo's different though.
it's a different type of beast, but highly structured and ordered. So
Okay.
it's more um yeah, it was it's probably one of the cleanest city I've seen. In terms
Mm.
of um yeah, it was fascinating. The culture is fascinating. Um yeah, I would love to go back. And I haven't I was there a long time ago. I was
Okay.
back in 2007 or 8.
Okay.
It's a long time ago. I would love to return. Uh I think other places that I haven't been to yet um would probably be um I would love to go to Peru
Peru.
and Galapagos Islands, I think would be interesting.
Okay.
And uh even though it's quite close, I would love to go back to Greece actually.
Greece.
uh
Nice.
yeah. Having just for like a relaxing
Okay.
vacation, not so much cultural input, just to go to Santorini or something, just to chill out and feel life.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, before we wrap up here, can you tell me more about your streaming?
Oh, well, yeah, well, I can. Yeah, it's so I stream on Twitch. I started streaming on Twitch in June this year.
Okay.
So I haven't been streaming long, but I I think I wanted to do YouTube for quite some time. when
Okay.
I tried to film myself, but I just couldn't stand my own voice. I couldn't, everything that I said, when I was going to edit, it was like,
Stupid me.
yeah, this is terrible. This is awful. And there were so many ums and ahs, and yeah, I
Yeah.
just couldn't stand it. And so all props to everyone who can do that. So, and then I went on Twitch. I've been on Twitch for about a year and a half, just as a viewer and
Okay.
interacting with certain smaller streamer communities. And I wasn't planning on streaming at all. I think the thought came to me when a friend of mine, the one who taught me about Korea as well,
Mhm.
said, you should stream. And I said, well, I don't really do games. I don't play games. So I do play some games, but I'm not good at them. So I didn't
Mhm.
want to stream games. But now that Twitch has like this just chatting category,
Okay.
I felt like maybe I could do more podcast-ish type streams, talk about certain topics that I would want to talk about, with maybe a psychology or angle on it.
Okay.
Um, and so that's kind of what I wanted to do, to create some form of little or a small community where we can have like a little safe haven where we can
Yeah.
talk about everything. And even though my intentions were to talk a lot more about psychology, it turned into just a nice, cozy place where we just hang out, everyone as
Yeah.
friends, and have a good time. So I do stream twice a week, and uh, even though it's not a career goal for me, it's more like a hobby or an interest.
Yeah.
Um, I think that also takes a little bit of the pressure off it as well for me.
Yeah.
I'm able to just relax and have a good time. So yeah, and I think this is also maybe what I'm curious about as a recent time is um, that form of dynamic and interaction as well, because that was completely new to me, and how different it was to be just a viewer compared to being a streamer,
Okay.
and how you interact with people. I think that was also fascinating. I think it's something that is quite stigmatized today, because when you think of streaming, you already have concepts in your mind. And if you don't, and you're being explained that, well, people do play games and people watch them and interact, it's like, well, that sounds weird. Why would you want to watch that? And I think this is, a lot of the things with gaming in general. Now that, not that I do gaming, but with Twitch, is that when you hear that, well, why would you want to watch people play games? Why don't you play them yourself? And it's, well, people
It's
do
not
that
about the
too, but
game, is it?
it's like community, but also the fact that people watch sports events on TV all the time. You can also
Yeah.
go out to play football, but
Yeah.
you choose to be entertained. I think that's the same concept of it. Uh, yeah, there's entertainment, but also um, the social aspect of it. You can
Yeah.
find your community. You can find people that yeah, you can find friendship basically, and you don't necessarily feel alone so much if you hang out there.
Yeah. That's probably the most important thing about it is like in the world, the more people feeling less alone is a good thing.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think that's also going to be more um, of an issue as we dive further into the online life,
Hmm.
of feeling that solitude and loneliness. And I
Hmm.
think also we got like a huge taste of it from the lockdown.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
It will be fascinating. It will be fascinating.
absolutely.